most of us, well, I don't know if most of us, I certainly did not know that Allan was 74 years old. And so, by most measures, he lived a full and long life. The second thing we're here to do is we're actually going to bury him. We're going to participate in laying him to rest, including those who wish to take handfuls of dirt. We can't pass the shovel back and forth because of COVID, but anyone who wants to participate in that, when we're done with most of the service, we'll lift the green cloths up and we can shovel dirt or handfuls of dirt on the grave. So you who are closest to Allan in life are escorting him in a way to eternal life. And it's a good deed, an act of kindness that he can't pay you back for, but you're doing that as we lay him to rest. And the final thing is really to comfort the mourners. Now, there are no direct mourners here today, and so I want to just, but probably going to be watching this is his sister Sharon, and our thoughts are very much with her. And if you know her at all, and I know all of us are mourning in a sense, but if you know Sharon, make sure
her name is Cheryl.
Cheryl, thank you. Thank you very much. So please reach out to her, and my apologies to you, Cheryl, who is watching this, but please reach out to her directly if you know her at all, and just offer some words of comfort, and not just in the next couple of days. Check in on her in a couple of weeks to see how she's holding up. It's very, very important. So those are our three tasks. There are few words that I can say that will offer the kind of comfort that we deserve. So given our sadness and that there are really no words, we're going to turn to the words of our sacred traditions, our scriptures, which have offered comfort to our ancestors in days gone by, and perhaps they'll give us a small measure of that today. Mizmor David Adonai Roi Lo Echsar, the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. One of the last things that I received from Allan, and I know this is the case for a few others of you as well, was a picture by email titled "Finding a Way to Daven with a Minion While Dealing with Coronavirus." And it's a picture, I don't think you can see it from here, I have it kind of small, with a traditionally dressed Jewish man as talit and tefillin holding a minyan, meaning not the minyan means the 10 people who gather for services, but it's in those movies, the movie Despicable Things. And so since we can't gather in 10, it's a guy holding one of these symbolic minions, right? This cartoon character. So that was one of the last things that a lot of us received from him. And they say two things about Allan that are both very important. One is that, and that he'll be remembered for. One is that he loved our minyan, our group of 10 people that he prayed with every Monday and Thursday, and he was there most Saturdays as well. And number two, he loved jokes and to pass them around on the internet and other things too, right? There was always stuff in our inboxes from Senor Verdi that was his email address, which of course means Mr. Green, Allan Green. A couple more people coming, so we're going to just pause for just a second. And in fact, these are some of the millionaires. I can already tell the difference between, see, they're late and everybody else was early. Those who go to synagogue regularly, they're always late, right? That's just the way it works. So anyway, welcome. And John Marcabani, I was just talking about Allan, and one of the last things we received from him was that picture that he sent of how to daven with a minion during coronavirus, with the man clutching, dressed in talit and tefillin, the stuffed animal of from the movies Despicable Me, saying that he loved minyan and he loved jokes and to pass them around on the internet. So Allan was Philly. All right, he was 74 years old, born in Philadelphia, I think probably northeast Philly. Someone can correct me, but that's where most of the Jewish community at that time was. And he never really returned there for any significant, I mean, barely even visited there. But he also, on the one hand, on the other hand, he never really left because, he was, his sports allegiances, his accent, his hoagies and all those things that he would talk about that are, of course, just so Philly. He would talk to me and others about the most obscure Philadelphia Phillies and Eagles and Sixers players and plays and games. My wife is from that area, so I kind of knew what he was talking about some of the time. So he was Philly. He was a helper. His Hebrew name was Avram, but it probably should have been Ezra, which means helper. And Allan was a help through and through. He always wanted to just be helpful, right? That was certainly true in Arminian. Not only being a part of it, loved being the 10th person because you need 10 to pray, but he would open the ark for the Torah. He would open up, he would close up, he would prepare the breakfast, make the coffee. He would hand out books, collect books, put the books away. If there was an elderly person in the minyan, and one of them, Jack Coulter, he was always right by his side, helping them, making sure he was able to sit down, stand up. I mean, Allan just loved to be helpful. He also he used to help people move, right? Which nobody wants to do. He did that. He came to my house, helped move a piano once. I mean, he really just always wanted to be there to help others in his quiet way, whatever he could do. He had strong opinions on sports, Judaism, and liberal politics, all of which were all on display at our breakfasts, and most of the time he was talking to anybody. He loved sports, certainly the Philly teams, which is in great evidence today. Also was a big Cal fan, particularly basketball. I used to see him at the Cal basketball games when I went there, and that usually meant commiserating over the Cal team. Some people, they said, we were talking this morning at our Zoom minion, and they said he never complained, except he always complained about the Cal coaches, and I think the sports teams as well. But he didn't complain, like he would never criticize, like, things that are happening in the synagogue or an individual person, right? He drew the line there, but sports teams and politics he would criticize often. He loved to wear shorts, goes without saying. He wore them no matter what season and no matter how cold. He loved jokes. He would pass them around on his email list, as I mentioned. So that was him. He loved Philly. He loved the minion. He loved to help. He had strong opinions. He loved shorts. He loved jokes. Unfortunately, right, this was a real shock to all of us. And thank you to those of you who were there for him, calling him every day, who discovered that when he wasn't answering the phone the last few days and didn't show up, even during the Eagles game to watch, that you discovered and made sure that his body was taken care of very quickly. And it was a shock because a lot of us didn't know how old he was or what kind of shape he was in. He worked out at the gym. He had all his buddies there, some of whom are here today. And so he was in good shape, but on the other hand, he wasn't, right? He took a lot of medications. He never talked about this stuff. He was quiet about it, but he had heart issues, but we just didn't know it. He seemed young. He seemed to be in good physical shape. So although there is very little comfort, there is a little bit, to go back to using a baseball analogy, and that he died at the top of his game, right? We never saw him weak and suffering. He wasn't like Steve Carlton hanging around, into his 40s, going on to different teams and pitching that he had no business playing for. He was more like Mike Schmidt. He hit his home runs. He knew when to retire, and his time was up. But he will always be remembered among us as a blessing. May his memory be a blessing to us always. We're small enough that if you want to, I'm talking about like a minute or less, if any of you want to say anything, I'm going to open that opportunity up. There'll be another opportunity tonight, but not long speeches, just a minute or less. Does anybody want to share something? Yes.
I know Al for a long, long time. I'm also from Northeast Philly, and he was a real character, is the way that I could describe him. And a friend of mine said yes, in a very in a positive way of being a character. What is gratifying to me now is, he had sort of several circles of friends that didn't overlap. And I'm gratified to meet all the people that were in this other circle of friends that I really didn't know anything about. And he was clearly well loved by everybody.
Thank you so much.
We're going to miss his fried gefilte fish. Stir him.
You just said Mike Schmidt. It made me laugh because every time you go to Al's house and you use the restroom, you get to hear Mike Schmidt's famous last home run when you pushed the baseball. And it was recorded, and his best friend Rob, I believe, got that for him. Al's a friend of mine from the Eagles for a long time, but part of like my family to me, so he'll be greatly missed.
Anybody else?
Yep.
Allan was one of my closest friends. I've known him for over 30 years. And I remember many things about Allan, his sense of humor, his jokes, his affinity for sports. But most of all, I will always remember Allan's kindness. When you needed someone, Allan was always there, no matter what the task.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Anybody else?
Yeah, we're friends of Allan from Minion. In fact, I would say we were Allan's neighbors at Minion. He sat in the row every day. He sat there. We sat in the row behind. And it was, he was the rock of the Minions. He was, you got there, Moleman license plate, in the parking lot, and a lot of opportunities to talk about his strongly held views about sports, about 45, and thinking about it being a fan, a follower of the Phillies, of the Eagles, of the Cal Bears, and with Trump. It's amazing that he lasted as long as he did.
I think he was
God
watching
bless.
Trump on TV, and that's what happened.
I think it was the missed two-point conversion that got him.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I worked out with Al at the gym for about 15 years, and every year we would have a tailgate party at the Coliseum, and I'd get to the Coliseum about 4:15 and start setting up with my wife, and about 2 minutes later Al would show up, usually with a big handle of liquor, and he'd be one of our two bartenders, always helping out from beginning to end, and I just hope that in the next 10 days or so, he starts pulling off a Frank Rizzo and does what he needs to do to fix the election. In good old South Philly style.
Rabbi, you should use the word mole, because I want to make sure I'm at the right place here.
Oh, right. Yeah, that wasn't our word for him, but I know that was.
Good. I didn't even know he had any other name.
He had a nickname, Mole, right?
The mole.
The mole.
But you,
Mole man.
John, you never heard that, right? Had you?
Moleman?
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. License plate and everything.
Oh, he did have license. That's right.
I'll just add, everybody's already said what I would say, I'll just add the one thing, which was, I would also call him the rock of our minion, the first one in, the last one to leave, but he was also the rock of several other minions in our town. He was always telling me, oh, Jeff Jacob called him up this night and he ran down there. So-and-so called him up for a minion and he ran down there. He was having a cocktail, they said, we don't care, come down.
Always wanted to be helpful. Any other last thoughts? Okay, I'm going to recite what's called the El Malay Rachamim Memorial Prayer. El Malay Rachamim, Shofen Malay Rachamim, Amen Zemin Chanechona, Tachat Kanfei Shchita, V'malo Kedoshim Utevarim, Kizohara Ki Amazirim, Et Mishpat, Avram Ben Zev Esther, Shelach Le'olamo, B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchata, Ana Ba'al HaRachamim, Ana Ba'al HaRachamim Asirehu, V'Seita Knafecha Le'olamim, U'Tro B'Tzvarim Et Nishmata, Adonai Yavo Vinomar. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest and sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to Avram ben Zev Esther, Allan Green, who is gone to his eternal home. Merciful one, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in the shadow of your wings. May his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. May he rest in peace. Let us say, Amen. At this time, we're going to lower the casket. Rita, you know that you got this.
I did, and I couldn't let Allan not have them.
So we prepared some books, including old Cedar Ream prayer books from the Minion that are no longer in use to be buried with him. But I forgot them, and so our executive director ran over from the synagogue to bring the box. You go ahead and put them down, and I'll. So we'll add those along with the dirt. We normally do that, but I forgot. So thank you, Rick. Thank you. I thought about that, midway through. I'm like, darn it.
There's another Indian neighbor.
So he's right next to Leonard Fixler, which is a pretty awesome spot to be, and they are telling bad jokes back at the fraternity also. Oh my goodness. There's a lot of bad jokes in here.
Got quite the view for a video. Yeah.
David Allan is somewhere up here, Jaeger. Shalom, may Allan come to his final resting place in peace. But I only want one of you to use the shovel. So, there's two shovels, so two of you can use shovels. Please, once you're done with them, put them back. I don't want them shared, but you can take your hand from anywhere in the mound or in the bucket, and go ahead and place it on the grave. After we're done with that, we will recite the mourner's cottage. Normally, non-COVID times we would cover the whole casket so we can't see it anymore, but we're not doing that because of the issues with the shovels, and they'll be filling it in.
Would you like me to pass out books that people can put in?
Sure, although you can just leave them.
In the boxes?
Yeah, leave them in the box if people want to take them. I'm going to take a few
All
to
right.
start. These are the Haggadahs there. It's hard to open, I know.
Here we go.
Well, yeah. anyone had Passover with them, those are these the pamphlet-looking ones on the top.
Good. Sorry about the storm. There's not enough business, or are you ready?
You want to take some or no?
Just from here. That's fine. Still, it's sad. It's crafted. It's like having a rabbit.
My friends, we are now going to recite the mourner's Kaddish. And there's a little declaration card if you want to try. If not, you can just say Amen with their causes. That's just as sacred as saying it. I would even say Zecher Tzaddik Livracha, may the memory of this righteous person be a blessing to us all. So, I'm going to have I'm just going to do this for, not really for fun, but normally when there are the direct mourners here, the father, mother, sister, brother, son, daughter, or spouse, everyone else forms a line, and those walk through it, and we say some traditional words of mourning. We're going to have anyone who's in the, we're going to have the people in the Philadelphia jerseys come on. Symbolically, we're going to have you. Everyone else, we're going to, let's go over here on two sides of the street here, half on each side, and the Philly fans just stayed back for a second. Everyone else, so you're half of you line up here, half of you line up there. You're going to walk through it. The Eagles, yeah. You're in the jerseys, you're going to walk through.
Philadelphia.
It's over here.
Eagles and Phillies over there.